Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unleash Your Voice. I am so excited to have Kadine Cooper with us today. Kadine is an award-winning leadership development coach. She's a speaker, facilitator, and a former HR leader who spent nearly 2 decades in HR and leadership development before building a coaching practice focused on helping women in corporate spaces lead more authentically and create careers aligned with their values. And you all know I love that. Through her coaching, workshops, and corporate training, Kadine helps high-achieving women move through self-doubt, strengthen their executive presence, and become more visible, grounded, and confident in who they are. Kadine, it's so great to have you here on Unleash Your Voice.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our conversation.
Me too. And I'm especially excited to hear your answer to this first question because I always start by asking my guests, tell me about a time in your career when you unleashed your voice.
Oh my goodness. You know what? It took me until I was like towards the end of my corporate career to unleash my voice. And I think, coming from immigrant parents, you're told go to school, go to get education, climb the corporate ladder, and that's what success looked like. And so I was constantly striving. But I knew at that point that I kind of wanted to not branch out on my own by any means. That wasn't like my thought, but I knew what I wanted in my career moving forward. And that was definitely to get into coaching side of things because I was doing it softly, but I wanted more of it. I wanted that more of helping leaders to really develop themselves. And so I started putting myself out there. And the VP that I was reporting to at the time, she was like, I don't think you're ready, or I don't think this is a good move for you. And I sat there for a minute with it and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you don't get to tell me what I'm ready for and what I'm not ready for, what I'm good and what I'm not good at. Like, I'm ready to invest in myself, to make myself the best in this space. So I think that was a pivotal turning point of me where I was just like, no more am I going to sit and let someone dictate or tell me what I'm ready for and what I'm not ready for. And that's where CEO came from. You can see it. Create every opportunity. Can you see it? No, you can't see it.
Yeah.
But it's create an opportunity. And that's what CEO means for me. Trying to pivot in. There you go. There it is.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Yeah. I'm just a big believer now of supporting others, especially women, with creating the opportunities that they want for themselves and stop waiting for that tap on the shoulder or that promotion because no one's coming to save us. We've got to create it for ourselves, build our own table, create our own table, whatever it is that we want.
100%. Okay, so you had this thought, like, I want to coach, I want to support others in their growth. And then this VP kind of tries to shut it down. And then you were like, no, I know I'm ready for this. Obviously, you had the confidence. So what was your next step after having that realization?
The cray move that I did was I quit. I didn't have a backup plan and I coached the opposite of it. I'm always like, let's come up with your blueprint, your framework, what's going to help you to be successful. But I honestly came to a point where I was like, if where I'm at right now, and I was in my 40s then, if where I'm at right now is not going to support my career goals and my trajectory, then I'm wasting my time. And I'm like, I'm in my 40s. I don't have time to waste. And that was like 6-7 years ago. And it blows me away. Some people are like, oh my God, that's so brave and courageous. I'm like, yeah, I'm cray because I didn't know what I was doing or why. I was just like, it was just almost like this huge, and that's why I talk about alignment so much. It was this huge misalignment and feeling that this didn't suit me anymore with where I was and where I was going. So I was like, am I going to sit here for another 5-10 years? Or am I going to do something about it right now? And so I met an amazing coach and he was the one that encouraged me. He's like, you have how many years experience? He's like, go out there and help people, do this yourself. And I was like, what does that even mean? How? But he encouraged me and really motivated me in the beginning. And if it hadn't been for him, then I probably wouldn't be doing it. I probably would be stuck in another corporate role. And not knocking people that are in corporate because it's not for everybody. I did it for many years and I'm never saying never. It would have to be such a good opportunity for me to go back. I don't even know if I'm employable anymore because I'm so set in, helping others. But we'll see. We never know. You never know.
One of the things I really appreciate about the way you shared your story was just talking about your upbringing and that immigrant mentality, because it really resonates with me. I know it will resonate with a lot of people who are listening right now. But when you grow up with that mentality of yes, get a good education, get a job, climb the corporate ladder, work hard. And then all of a sudden, you experience as we go through life, we start to see people living their lives in different ways and people building their businesses, have it doing coaching. It really opens your mind up to all of these different opportunities. But sometimes telling people who haven't had that same exposure about what you're doing can be really hard. So I'm curious because I know for me,
Oh yeah.
like similar to you, I was doing really well in corporate. I was working at Salesforce. And when I told people I was leaving, they were like, what? Like, why would you ever leave? You have like literally you could work there for the next 25 years and like have a great career. Like, why would you ever leave that? So did you have to deal with any of that when you were leaving?
Oh, 100%. People were
Yeah.
like, my mother especially. So people in my family that were really close to me, like my mother and her Jamaican accent, she was like, but you make good money. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Yes, I was making good money. Yes, I was in a pretty good position at the time. I was traveling for work and doing all the things, but there came a point where it just didn't feel aligned with me. And I think even now, Priya, people still don't understand and get it. They're like, and I don't even understand sometimes and get it, because there is the ebbs and flows. There isn't that steady income coming in consistently sometimes. And there's the hustling, and you're the marketing, the sales, the content creator, like you're all of the things now. So I've learned a ton and I have zero regrets. I'll say that I have zero regrets. The people that I've made and the connections and the content, just the experiences, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
And now very supportive my mom is, but I think in the beginning, it's the fear, right? It's the fear of what have you done? Like, you've never done this before. No one in our family's ever done this before. Like, what are you even thinking? Why you? Why now? And, especially being so comfortable and cushionable, and you have responsibilities. I've got a family, I've got 3 boys, a husband, we have a mortgage and all the things. But I was like, near them, I was just like near them. And I'm like, I'm going to choose me, whatever that looks like. And that's the same thing that coach said to me too. He goes, if you choose you, if you invest and go all in on you, he goes, you can't fail. And I was like, okay. So that's constantly reminding me, I'm investing in me. I'm helping others. I'm being of service. I can't fail.
Yes. Those are the people, especially in the beginning. I found the same thing, like the people who were really supportive and who, kind of lifted me up when I had my own doubts. It
Yeah.
made all the difference.
It's normal to have doubts. Like,
Yeah.
we're doing things that we've never done before. We're putting ourselves out there in ways that we've never done before. But I always say, so long as it's coming from a place of alignment and the intention is good and pure, then you're okay. And I'll tell you something else that someone said to me. I was part of this panel and she said, I was like, oh, sometimes I feel like I can be aligned. She's like, what does a lot look like? And I was like, I don't know. Well, I love to share. I feel like I'm very resourceful. So I love to tell them, I'm not tied to anything. I just share because if I feel like something can benefit you, your career, your business, whatever, then I want to tell you. And she said, you'll either be too much for some, not enough for others, but as long as you're enough for yourself, you'll be okay. And I was like, you know what? She's right. She's right.
Oh,
Because we're not
that's so
to be for
powerful.
everyone, but we try sometimes, I think. Right?
Yeah, so powerful. Let's continue down that path because on your website, and I've heard you talk about this before in your LinkedIn content, you talk about, at one point feeling invisible, unfulfilled, and trapped in this cycle of constantly proving your worth. So I know that will resonate with a lot of people listening right now. So when you think back to that time when you were still in corporate, what did that invisibility actually look like for you to day? And how did it shape the way you were showing up at work?
Wow. You know what? It was something that I think I didn't realize was happening in the beginning or while it was happening. It wasn't until there was this strong disconnect in myself that I think I was just like, this doesn't feel good. And so how I would show up was just that constant striving or that head down, don't want to rock the boat or anything like that. I just want to kind of keep it moving until you couldn't anymore. And I'll never forget getting asked that question, what do you like about working for X, Y, and Z company? And I was just like, what are the 7 key behaviors? And that's when I know the more I kept doing that, the more that feeling kept coming from me. I was just like, I'm doing myself and this company a disservice by being here. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore. So the feeling just became really overwhelming and uncomfortably overwhelming, if that makes sense. And showing up and just being head down and not kind of saying anything, but wanting to say something, especially for others, like the mistreatment of other employees and being in HR. That's why I got into HR, was for people. And then being told, Kadine, you're too much for the people and not so much for the business. And I was like, if we don't take care of our people, we don't have a business. And I'm usually the first point of contact, helping people navigate their careers and stepping into their roles. And I was like, if I can't do that, then why am I here? In essence. So it was just that real misalignment, how I was showing up, my beliefs. Yeah. And that just disconnect, I would say.
Yeah. I think this aligns really well with like conversations that I know you like share in some of your content too about like, masking, code
Yeah.
switching. this of having to overfunction. And it's interesting because you've shared a bit about how like you got to this point where you realize like I'm not helping anyone, including myself anymore, by using these behaviors. But interestingly, I feel like so many of us, especially as women and people of color, early in our careers, like those are the behaviors that kind of save us and allow us to
Yeah,
progress. But it's
100%.
right. But then, like you said, you start to feel disconnected from yourself after
Mhm.
a while. Are there any like specific stories or experiences you have that when you realize that's what was happening to you?
Oh my gosh, so many. So many. I think one that stands out the most though is the last corporate position that I was in. Couple things. In 3 years, I had reported to 5 different managers. And that constant proving, striving that I was good enough to be in the role that I deserved, be paid the compensation that I was being given, that kind of wore me out. There was also a director that I reported to as well who was so unethical. And so everyone else was kind of playing blinds eye to her or was just kind of bowing down to her. And I'm like, I cannot. I'm like, I can't. Like, I just couldn't because I felt like by doing that, I was enabling the behavior and enabling how she was treating others. And I was just like, I can't do that anymore. So that's part of what broke me. And then also seeing like firsthand her almost like putting others, like I'm talking about other HR people against each other, like putting us in a room being like, what did you say about her? What's the problem? And I was just like, I can't believe she's doing this right now. And so I was just like, I can't be a part of this. I really, we're adults, right? And I felt like we were being treated like children. And it was like her way, like she was very authoritative and dictatorship or whatever that word is, dictator. And I was just like, I can't work under that. So there was that. And then I think it was just a lot of the striving, like you're only as good as your last project. And when I left, it took 3 people to fill my position. So that was the other thing too, where I was like, yeah, yeah. So completely burned out. And that's the other thing that I talk about too, is completely burned out. And it was not that I didn't put my hand up, Priya, and say, I need help. I think I had one direct report at one point, but it was just, oh, Kadine could do it. Like I can even show you, I have a Wonder Woman thing that says Wonder Woman on. That's what they called me because I was doing all the things and complained very little because I was up late at nights and we had different time zones. So I was serving people in different areas. And because I always was protective of my brand, I didn't want to not seem capable or competent and be called out for that. So I would do the extras, right? Just to make sure that my brand was protected and my job was protected. But at what cost? Right?
100%. I feel like everyone listening right now is nodding along because this is what happens to a lot of high performing women where it's like you get punished for being
Yeah.
good at your job. It's like, oh, yeah, Kadine can handle the hardest projects. Let's just give her another one. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
being like, Kadine's been handling all of the difficult projects, maybe we should give her a
A
bit of a
break?
break to reward
Yeah.
her. Yeah. And then it's so interesting that when you left, they literally had to hire three
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
to do your
I'm so
job.
connected with some people there, so I know it took 3 of them to fill. And I was just like, what about the times when I was saying I needed help?
Yeah,
you
no
know?
kidding.
Yeah.
Yes.
But lesson learned. You know what I mean? Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Because had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be able to help others that are going through it or that have,
Yes.
so or that are in it and how they can navigate it and speak up for themselves and use their voice to say, like, I'm not okay with that or that doesn't serve me, right? Giving them
Yes.
the language and the tools that they need that I wish I had. So if you were to ask me what's the driving force in getting into coaching, it's that. It's being for women what I wish I had in my career. Because I didn't have that. I didn't think I even knew what mentorship really was or allyship and all these fancy buzzwords that we use right now. If it was just head down, do what you got to do your job. That's it.
Yes. And I think like to your point earlier about like I have no regrets. It's interesting how like you said, you went through all of this, but it has actually allowed you to do the work that you do now. And a big part of your work is helping women to lead authentically. And like
Yes.
we hear this term, right? Authentic leadership. And I think it gets used a lot without people actually defining it. But I love the way you actually speak about it. So maybe
Mm.
you can share with everyone listening, like what does authentic leadership actually look like in corporate spaces?
So I love that you asked the question. And what I'll say is, I always say before I even explain it, because like you just said, the authentic word is, I feel it being so overused. So if I'm saying it, I usually say, for me, it's being the real and ideal version of yourself. So leading from a place of alignment. And that's why I came up with this whole aligned leadership method. And the first step is to come up with awareness, right? So the awareness that how you're leading isn't serving you, or it's not really who you are. So it's really about getting honest with who you actually are and the way that you want to show up, not the way that you think you should show up. And then there comes like this sense of liberation, right? So you identified what those limiting beliefs are, what those patterns or the systems are that have been keeping you stuck or to operate in that manner, and you let them go. We release them. And then by releasing them, it's almost like that ignition in you. So we're reconnecting now with who you generally truly are, what generally drives you. And then your values come into play. And I always share my 5 F's as well. So your values, your vision, and then that's when your authentic, if we want to say, or your real voice comes up. And through that, then we can come up with the kind of like the goal or the architect of building the strategy of that grounding of who you are, right? Not just what looks good on paper, but who you actually truly are, because that's what people gravitate to. It's you. It's not this made up version of you, right? But then the N is the navigation piece, because we have to navigate kind of like the systems and the norms. So it's an ongoing practice of leading from that place, especially if you haven't led from that place in how many years, right? So when things get hard, it's helping you to navigate and go back to your North Star, your core of who you truly are. And that's why one of the things that I do in the beginning with the assessment piece is helping women to identify what do you value? What are your values? Because for me, now when I'm making a decision, I'm like, okay, how am I honoring my values? Because if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something, right? And so if I'm honoring my values here, then usually I'm like, okay, this feels good. But if I'm not honoring my values, it usually doesn't feel good, but then why, right? I question myself now, like, why am I not honoring my values? And then is it worth it? So I weigh it with myself. So helping women to identify what are your top 3, your top 5 values, and using that as your navigation or your North Star to question whether or not this is a right move, whether this is a yes or a no. Because if it's a yes, it should be a strong, yep, this is a yes. And if it's a no, it should be like, yeah, this is also a strong no for me. Because then when you say no, there's no FOMO, there's no fear of missing out, there's no second guessing. It's just a no for you with no explanation for it. It's a no. Because you don't owe anyone any explanation. But when we start explaining ourselves, it's because of the misalignment, because we're like, yeah, I got to kind of justify, right? But if it doesn't align, 2 things. If it doesn't align, now is not the time. And if it doesn't align, then maybe you need to decline. That's how I kind of coach my clients with it. So It doesn't align, right?
Oh, I love that. And I really like that. So first of all, I always love a framework because it's just so much easier to like understand a process when you have a framework. And I really appreciate what you're saying about using this as a filter for making decisions. What did you say? If it doesn't align, then it's a decline.
Doesn't align, now is not the time. And if it doesn't align, then I need to decline or must decline.
So good. Do you find, because a lot of like defining the values and that finding that alignment, it's like going within yourself and really like articulating what's already there, but that you might not have really taken the time to think about before, right? So do you find when you're going through this process with your clients, like, are there surprises or like what's the experience they have?
100%. Sometimes surprises and resistance as well, because you've operated from a place that doesn't serve you or that's out of alignment for so long. So now with my support and guidance, I'm bringing you back into alignment and back into what feels good, but it feels foreign to you, right? Until it doesn't anymore. So it's not an overnight thing. It's a constant process. Yeah, we start with assessments, and then it's a matter of the feeling that's tied to those values. And how does it feel when you're not honoring those values, right? And calling yourself out. Or I get text messages. Sometimes I'm at the gym, and they're like, okay, this doesn't feel good. And I'm like, okay, does it align with your values? No, it doesn't. Okay. Then what is it? Is it a yes or is it a no? Right? And just kind of coaching through that moment. And that's one of the things why I offer some of the support that I do to my clients, because I would rather us connect on something in a moment versus having to wait another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And that's just something that I do. And I mean, I do have my boundaries. If I'm available, cool, I can do it. If not, then I tell my clients 24, 48 hours, I'll get back to you, because you're still going to be in that kind of like, should I moment. But no, I just feel like once people identify what those values truly are and they honor them, it's so much easier when you're making your decisions and showing up as your best self.
Yes.
And then you have this like navigation, right? Because then it's like, okay, it does this honor. Instead of being like this, when we're not honoring our values, we're kind of like waving the options of do I not versus yes or no.
Yeah. The visual that I just had was like somebody standing in a fog, and then it's like the values become the filter, and it's like slowly the fog clears and like your inner voice
Yes.
becomes louder. Um, yeah, I think
Yeah.
like because also, like, especially as women, we're often drawn to adding more. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I need to like get another certification. I need to get another training.
Yes.
But I think like the work that you're doing, right? Yeah. And I
Guilty.
feel the same way. Like so much of it is actually really understanding and leveraging what's already there.
Yeah.
Right. And really just clearing that fog so that we can hear that inner voice because there are so many things that drown out our inner voice
Yeah.
like all day, every day. And
Right.
especially in corporate, when you're getting all these messages from the people around you about how you should show up, what's expected in specific rooms that you might be in. Yeah, you always that feeling of needing to like add more trainings and certifications
Yeah.
to your resume.
And you're already enough. You're
Yeah.
already right. You've been
Yes.
put in this position because you're enough. But it's that self-belief, it's the imposter syndrome, and we all have it. Sometimes it's just stronger than other times, but we all have it. We all go through it. None of us are exempt.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, you're so right. And sometimes there are things that trigger it, right? Like a layoff or having a toxic work environment or a toxic manager. And then yeah, it
You start
takes
to spiral.
yeah,
You
exactly.
spiral into what doesn't serve you, and oh my goodness, I need to show up this way, or maybe I said something wrong, but I always go back to like the intention. What was your intention in that moment, in that state? It wasn't to hurt or to harm. It was to show up and to present yourself in your best, right? But if you have to dumb that down or dim your light, then you're not going to show up as your real and ideal version. And why not? Right. And I always say to my clients sometimes, like when I'm coaching regarding those that are in the job search, I'm like, you play a very important dual role. You're the interviewee and you're the interviewer. So as much as you're sometimes looking for this manager or this organization to check your boxes, to check their boxes, they need to check your boxes too. And we can't have them check our boxes if we don't know what we need, what we want, what our values are. We're just going to be yes man or yes woman to everything. But it's so important that you identify what your non-negotiables are, as well as what theirs are, right? So for example, quick example is if you know that, yeah, I just want to work from home now because I know that I can work from home, and they're like, we need to be in the office 3 days a week, then it's a no for you. It's not a maybe. It doesn't align. It's not what you want. If you know that you need to make X amount to sustain your livelihood and they're offering you below that, maybe okay for some, but what can you negotiate? Because everything is negotiable. I have an ebook on negotiation too. So everything is negotiable, but you just need to know how to negotiate, how to ask for what you want, right? And then not be afraid to ask for what you want. That's the other thing too, because fear is just false evidence appearing real. I have all these little acronyms, so forgive me. But fear is just false evidence appearing real, right? Because you don't know. You don't know. You just think this is what might happen. But I've had so many clients ask Priya for what they want, and then they're calling you and they're like, they said yes. And I'm like, well, of course they did, because you asked. You may not get exactly, but see how far you can push. I always say start with what you definitely cannot go below. Your middle of, yeah, I could accept this. And what would make you jump through the ceiling? And once you have those 3 markers, then you can kind of go back. Is it vacation? What's important to you? Is it personal time? Is it work from home options? Is it title? Like what is important to you? And then negotiate with that. Use that as your barter.
Absolutely. And I think that point about like the worst people someone can say is no.
It's no.
Right? But you really don't know unless you ask. And like you have nothing to lose by asking as long as you do it in the right way. And like, but I totally agree with you. I've seen the same thing happen where I've had a client who's like, no, I just want to sign like before they change their mind. And I'm like, no, like you're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to ask for like the 20K more. And if you don't get it, you're happy. So you have nothing to lose. But yeah, most of the time they come back and they're like, oh, they gave me like X amount more, or like they offered this many shares or whatever it is.
It may not be exactly what you went in for. but it
Exactly.
may be. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? But you're kind of challenging them and seeing. And also, like I said, making sure that they're checking your boxes. Always go in with knowing what it is that you want and why you want it.
Totally. It's funny because early in my career, I never negotiated. I always was just like, yeah, that person who was like, oh, I'm just so grateful I have a job and like that they let me come here every day. And like, honestly, yeah, all of the all of the things that now I'm like, I wish I had someone to tell me to negotiate.
Exactly. But this is I wish I had someone like myself in my corner, like, this is what you say, this is how you say it, this is what you can ask for this. You know, like I wish, but I didn't even know that was a thing back then.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't know.
The first time I did it, it was when I got my first tech job. And the reason I felt empowered to do it is because I had somebody who worked at the company who was kind of helping me through the interview process. And she was so transparent, which like I'm so grateful for, because she told me like what the average was or what most people were being offered in that role and how much negotiating room there was. So I felt so uncomfortable. Like, and of course, you know, the first offer is the first offer, right? And some people accept it and some people negotiate. And that was the first time I asked for more. And I felt more confident doing it because of her guidance. But I felt so I ended up getting more than, like, I ended up negotiating for more. And I just felt so empowered after that the next job, I asked for way more. And then after that, I'm like, you know, everyone needs to know about this. So then as soon as somebody would like ask me for advice, like somebody who was earlier in their career, I always was so transparent about like how much I was making, what I knew about like how other salaries on those teams. Because I think that's another thing as women, we're often just so uncomfortable talking about dollar amounts and money. And and that's what keeps us making less too. Right? Is the not sharing and not having those open conversations.
But the other thing that I always say too is each and every one of us, Priya, we're all someone else's possibility. Right? So if you were not that person that was so open to share your journey and your tactics or tools, then how would I know that it was possible for me as well? So that's something that I always tell clients, is that, especially the younger generation, like, you're someone else's possibility. I feel like I'm someone else's possibility. I'm showing women what's possible. I'm not saying quit your job. I always say the opposite. I'm like, let's come up with a blueprint, a framework, and timelines. You know, don't do what I did, because that was crazy. But, you know, knowing what you want and that it's possible for you to get it and how you can get it, I think is key. Like, actually, don't worry about the how so much. Just knowing what you want. And then we can come up with the strategies or the steps to get you there. Right? Because it's all possible, but we need to show other women what possibilities look like instead of hiding it, right? And not disclosing it, because then they can't see. They'll stay in their cubicles like I did for many years, just head down. I can't do this because I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Right? Done before. Well, sometimes you have to be the first, and sometimes being the first is hard.
Definitely. I say something similar about your story. Like, your story can be someone else's roadmap. And that's why it's so important to share, to share your experiences, especially some of those times that might have been more challenging. It's the people who are in those difficult moments, they need those stories to know that there's hope and that they can get through what you went through. Yeah.
And it's community, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people. And what you just said just triggered something in me. The very first book that I read after stepping away from corporate was Glennon Doyle's Untamed. Have you read it?
Yes.
So the part in the book where she says, she's in the yoga studio and she's picked up her yoga mat, and then she's looking at the women to her left and her right, because it's that time for them, because they must stay, because they have to know what love and something and freedom are before they can know what love and God and freedom are not. I quote it all the time. So I note of that. And then she picks up her mat and she looks at the women and she's like, because it's not their time yet, right? Because they have to know that for themselves, that it's their time. You can't. And that's the thing, like, being a mother, I can want all these things for my kids, and I do. But if they don't want it and see it for themselves, like, I can hold your possibility. That's one of the things that I love to do for clients as well. They come to me with their goals or vision, whatever, and I'll hold that for them until they want it bad enough and hold it for themselves. And that's when it's like, yes. Then I'm celebrating with them, because I'm like, finally, I see it in you. Now you see it in you. And that makes me feel, I'm getting goosebumps even just saying that, because that brings me so much joy when a woman sees just how amazing you are, freaking amazing you are. And
Yes.
that's even the value that you bring when you recognize it in you. That's when it's like, yes, right? So
100%.
that's why I
And
love what I do.
yes. Oh my gosh. Same here. Like those moments and then seeing that, like that's where that unshakable confidence comes from.
Mhm.
It's from that realization of what you actually have to offer. It doesn't come from like faking it till you make it, right?
Oh,
It comes from really, really like being in alignment.
yeah. Being in
Yeah.
alignment with yourself from within.
Yeah. You mentioned your five F's earlier, and they are faith, family, fun, freedom, and flexibility.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. I wrote them down because I was reading them on your website. I'm like, oh, I absolutely love this. I know you mentioned you do this work with your clients to help them find their values,
Yeah.
but like, how did you arrive at your values? And maybe you can share a little about how you do that work with your clients.
For me, I think it was, I went through my own kind of personal development journey. So that's the other thing too, is when I left corporate, I think it looked shocking and like sudden to a lot of people, but I had started my own personal development journey like a good 5, 10 years before I made that decision, not knowing that that's why I was doing the work, but just feeling like something, this couldn't be it, right? Has to be more to my life or my career than this. And so I'm very spiritual. So I leaned into my spirituality and my relationship and my connection with God. And for me, it's Jesus. And then my family was very important to me, being a mom of 3 boys and teaching them and wanting them to see, what is possible for them, even through me. That was really important to me. And I like to have fun. Like I'm a goofy person. I'm quirky. Like I love to have fun and not have to dim that side of me, which I think, I remember my friends were saying, oh, there's our corporate friend, Kadine. And I'm like, guys, I'm just Kadine, but they always saw me in a certain way. And so the fun and then the freedom just to be able to, because I was like, what would freedom look like? And started dreaming again, because when we are adults, when we get older, we start limiting ourselves. Now I'm just like, I just want to be free. I just want to be free to be me and the flexibility to do that. So it was just sitting down and identifying what's important to me at this stage in my career and my life. And it just happened to be like, honestly, not planned. Just like my kids' names all start with Kate, not planned. It wasn't something that I was like, it has to be, but I was like, faith, family, fun, freedom, and flexibility. Like, what is really important to me? And I did it without even looking at, now I give clients like a sheet list of values, right? To help them with it. But for me, honestly, if you sit with yourself, Priya, these things come to you, because we all know deep down inside what we want and what we don't want, but it's the fear or the limiting beliefs or the doubting that we can have it. But I just sat and I just let myself dream and believe, like, if I could be, do, and have whatever I want, what do I want it to look like? And I still, like, I have a vacation home here on my wall. That's my freedom place. I love to travel. So I'm like, I want it to be somewhere sunny and warm, because Canadian born and raised, but I was not meant to live in this cold weather. I'm just saying.
I
I'm old,
feel
I'm like,
that.
yeah, no, I've got Caribbean blood in me. I'm like, no, this can't be it. Right.
Yeah.
So it was just, my faith has always been very important to me, being spiritual. My family, now that I have my own family, they were important to me. And then the freedom and flexibility to be able to do what I want. Like, now I can work from anywhere. I can serve people, women all over the world. That's amazing to me. So to be honest, like, I can't even say how I specifically came up with it. I just knew it was anchoring into me, to my core, what's important to me now at this stage. And that's what it is.
I think even that point about just sitting with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that we don't often take the time to do.
No.
Right? And honestly, like I find the same thing with my work. Everyone has their stories. They're already there. But
Yeah.
it's taking that time to really to do that deeper reflection and to pull them out. And of course, it's always helpful to have someone, right? Like a coach who can work with you on that. And I'm sure with your clients, you're asking them the right questions to help them get super clear
Yeah.
on what those values are and to confirm and like that they are really in
Exactly.
alignment. So yeah, but it does it if you don't have that foundation, then you can't do all of the other stuff, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, and I think this similar to you, people come to you because they're like they need a new job, they want to get out of where they are. And it's like, we're gonna do that, but
Yeah.
you have to start with the values, you have to start with the key stories. Like those foundational pieces are so important. And I think like I'm just seeing so much, like so many parallels, because for me, I'm like, yeah, it's people come to me to work on the stories they tell others, but the first thing they need to change is the story they're telling themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And I think for you too, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, you can't communicate who you are, what your values are, how you operate as a leader until you can tell yourself, you have the words to tell yourself what that is.
Exactly. And I love that you use the word foundation, because that's another term that I use too, building on something. The foundation is already there, but sometimes we got to smash those limiting beliefs or those things that we've built on that are not true, right? So we've got to dismantle those and then start building from that foundation, a firmer foundation.
Yes. Right? Okay, talking about foundations, you have spoken about quiet cracking.
Yes.
Like this, I mean, you'll probably do a better job of explaining it, but from what I understand, it's like this slow, invisible fracture that happens when leaders keep performing like their strength, right? But something underneath the foundation is cracking. So what are the signs of quiet cracking, and why do you think so many women sort of like miss this in themselves until they're already burned out?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is because we talk so much about burnout, right? But that's the quiet cracking is what happens before the burnout. You don't all of a sudden just wake up one day and you're burnt out, right? But it's the not feeling like going to work and showing up. It's the feeling that you get in your stomach when you see that email or that call. It's the avoiding or shuffling things around your desk, pretending that you're actually doing work when you're not. It's the showing up in a way that frustration, that anger, or hiding. Like there's so many different variations of it for individuals, but those are all the things that are happening. And then sometimes as leaders, because of the role that you're at, being a high achiever, you're trying to not show that side until a little crack comes out one day, and it's either you recognize it or someone else recognizes it, because it's not of you. It's not who you normally are, because maybe the mask has been so, performative. You've been wearing this mask, but then one day, sometimes the mask kind of wears down a little bit, because you're a human being. You're not a robot, right? So that's kind of what happens. And so it's like recognizing that this doesn't feel good, but why? And start questioning it. So I'm feeling like I'm losing it. I'm feeling like this isn't fulfilled anymore. I'm feeling like confused, or like I can't focus, or like it's Sunday night and I'm like, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Like for me, my dream is, can you imagine if people were doing work that they love to do and showing up, and like how beautiful and amazing our world would be? And if you're not in that position, then what are you doing about it? Are you going to continue to quietly crack? Or are you going to be like, okay, I'm here now, but what do I really want? And start working towards getting that. So the quiet cracking is what happens before the burnout is even called out. It's sleepless nights, right? Just that anxiety, that feeling, our body. I'm sure you've heard of the book, your body keeps score, because your body does keep score. And I'm a big advocate. I'm a huge mental health advocate. I'm first aid certified. And I'll never forget, one of my therapists said to me, Priya, she's like, it sounds like you're not in tune with your body. And I was like, she's right. She's right. Because I would feel these feelings, and this is the point cracking, you feel these feelings, but you ignore them, you dismiss them, you keep pushing forward anyways until you hit that wall, right? And then you're at that point of kind of, I don't want to say no return, but then it's something that you can't come out of on your own.
Yeah.
You definitely need the support and the resources to kind of pull you out of it. And no shame in it, because again, we think we have to perform. We think we have to show up. We think we can't push back, right? We have to be that yes person because we fear of losing our job or looking incompetent or not looking like a team player. Meanwhile, you're the biggest team player and supporter there is, but there has to also be some boundaries to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I talk about this too with my clients, the misconception of boundaries, that people think the boundaries are for others. The boundaries are for you, right? And when we get to the point of identifying the values and establishing the boundaries, there's that fear, of course, but you know who benefits from these boundaries that you're now going to set and honor? Those that used to benefit from them before, of you not having them, right? That's who. So it's okay. You might ruffle a little bit of feathers. People might view you a little bit differently, but that's because now you're showing up for you, right? You're honoring what's important and what serves you and not so much the others. So it's establishing those healthy boundaries and protecting yourself. That's what's truly key. Right. So I'm just so passionate about all of this. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, but I'm just passionate about all of it because it was
Yeah.
me, it's when I remember the first coach that I was working with and she's like, so who's your ideal client? And I'm like, me, the me that was 10, 15 years ago, feeling stuck, feeling unfulfilled, that was quietly cracking. I want to help her. I want to help her know that she doesn't have to stay there, that we can start the work to kind of unpack whatever is there,
Hmm.
find a way to kind of get out of it, right? You don't have to do it alone.
Yes.
We think we're superwomen and we can, but we cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, and you don't have to, right? You can be like, you can be happy and fulfilled in your corporate job. I also really appreciate you mentioning just some of those signs because even when I think back to my own experience of like what happened leading up to, like, for example, for me, it was leaving my career in TV.
Mhm.
It did start with those moments of dreading work on Monday morning, of like my heart beating when I saw an email from a certain manager or leader. And I think those are the things that it's helpful, like for anyone listening who maybe doesn't feel like burned out yet, but is like
Yeah.
starting to feel like something just isn't quite right here, or
You're
something isn't, yeah, that like, and having that language like quiet cracking, I feel like it's so helpful to be able to identify and to just have, it's like the framework, just having some
yes.
language to be like, oh, I think this is what's happening. And it's great if you can also get ahead of it, right? If
Yeah,
you
it's
start
naming it.
addressing, yes, exactly, before you get to that point where you just are kind of like desperate to get out of
Yeah.
the position that you're in.
And that's the recognizing it in your body too, right?
Yeah,
Knowing that you can name it and identify what it is and not push through it.
absolutely.
Right. And get the support that you need. That's one thing that I'd offer, your audience is just like find your person or your community. Like we were not meant to do life or careering, whatever you want to call it, on your own.
Yeah.
Right. We try. I'll tell you,
Yes.
I'm trying, but yeah, it doesn't serve you.
It
Right.
doesn't. I know as women, we're also often taught to move quickly past our wins. So I want to end by putting you on the spot. I would love for you to share, what are you most proud of when you reflect on your own professional path?
Oh my goodness. As a solopreneur or in corporate?
Ooh. Okay, let's do corporate.
Let's do corporate.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. As hard as it was, the juggling and what I was able to do in my last corporate role, doing business critical, doing campus, and doing special projects, even though it almost broke me or did break me a little bit. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what I was able to do and the lesson that I learned during that time. Because had I not gone through that, I don't think I'd be where I'm at right now and able to help women that are going through it. So I think that's something that I'm proud of because I survived it.
Yeah,
Right? It wasn't
absolutely.
easy, but I survived it. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about me and what I am willing to tolerate and what I'm not willing to tolerate. And I think that's also what helped me to get my voice
Yeah.
and to recognize that I had a voice. So super proud of that. As an entrepreneur, I would say the impact, more than anything, the impact that I've had on women that I've supported. And I'm always so honored when someone chooses me as their coach and says, I want to work with you. And I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see who you are in like 2, 3 months from now, right? Because I can see it now, but I can't wait for you to see it. And
Yeah.
so just proud of the women that I've been able to see thriving now and in spaces where they themselves didn't see. And it's just being that vessel for me because it's not about me. It's
Hmm.
never about me. It's just about the support and the guidance that I am to help them to get to where they want to be. And being that safe container too, because I'm big on psychological safety. I'm always like, I'm a vault. Whatever is said here stays here. Because I think we all need that. And I never had that either. So I always tell my clients, you'll never hear me say that you are a client of mine. Ever.
Yep.
You want to share that, that's all on you. But I just believe that we all need that safe, sacred space, that container that will hold that for us. And so, yeah, I feel very proud of the women, I would say, more than anything, of the impact.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. Kadine, this was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here today. I know people will want to connect with you after. Where can people find you?
I would say my playground is LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. I do touch on Instagram a little bit, but more just for fun. But definitely LinkedIn. Or you can send me an email. I'm always open to conversation and chatting, even if it's just like a 30-minute conversation. So you can find me either at Career Coach K or Kadine at careercoachk.com.
Amazing. Okay, great. And we will link to your LinkedIn and your website in the show notes as well. Thank you again for being here and for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it was really great to have you. And thank you to all of you who joined us for this episode today as listeners. Make sure you follow or subscribe to the show on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss our weekly episodes. They drop every Tuesday. Until next time, remember your story is the one thing you have that no one else has. I'll see you next week.